Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here. I'm just doing a video, kind of a follow-up to my previous one about Marilyn Manson. Just going to go into a little bit more about what I think about the rapidly evolving situation. So, uh, over a year ago, I was dating someone that had questioned me because of my willingness to entertain the possibility that Woody Allen was innocent of molesting his daughter. And the whole point with me questioning, or her questioning, was, I'm doubting the veracity of this person's claim. It's like, well, the thing is that two of his adopted children backed up his side of the story. So, I mean, who's to say he, as far as when we're talking about sexual assault and, these things, they're very sensitive areas, and a lot of times things can get skewed. It's a very complicated situation. So I was just pointing out the possibility that he might be innocent. I'm not saying it's a foregone conclusion that he was innocent. My main thing is I'm not going to stop listening to music or, watch movies or something by an artist that's been accused of things. Now, if they're convicted, it really depends on how much bearing it has on their music or their art. If Jeffrey Epstein would have been like world renowned for painting teenage girls, but I was a fan of his art, I'd be like, oh, that's fucking terrible, But if he was like playing a xylophone in a polka band or something, I'd be like, well, it's really not related to his, crimes as far as even the expression that he's giving. So I think that's something important to take into consideration with regards to some of this stuff, because you're not thinking about Varg Vikernes Seek Heiling in his bedroom when you listen to a Burzum album. You're thinking about this dark forest that you're on, this fucking, you're in the snow in Norway or something. So something to think about with separating the art from the artist is sometimes the art can be separated easier. Whereas like with R. Kelly or something, you hear these songs about some chick that was like, that he basically, whatever, all this stuff. It was just, it really depends on what you're talking about. In regards to what I think about my problematic take, quote unquote, on Woody Allen today is that, well, who's to say that I'm wrong by questioning the veracity of these claims of his daughter? Who's to say? Who are you to judge me on that? I don't, profess to have a law degree or any knowledge of, I do have some psychological knowledge, but, it's evolving with time and getting better. But, I don't know what her motivations were, or her, Mia Farrow or anything like that. So I'm willing to entertain the possibility that he's guilty. Obviously, he could be guilty as sin. That said, having that, beyond a reasonable doubt, that's where my mind where it falls apart, because we don't know. And the same goes for Marilyn Manson. So Marilyn Manson thing's complicated. He has a history of being a certain way. He has his kinks and his obsessions, and also he has his neuroses. Like I heard he was kind of he had some stalkerish tendencies apparently. My problem with the accusations were not the accusations themselves, but how they were framed in light of, just like, I don't know, there were things that bothered me about the accusations. Now, at the same time, if they are true, then that's very fucking terrible. It's horrible what happened. And I'm not saying they're not true. My video did not say that they're not true. And I don't know. I actually do not know. Especially as more things come out. Now there is a great degree of virtue signaling coming out as well, which bothers me as well. Let's take with Trent Reznor. Trent Reznor has come out and said, "Oh well, for years, man, I haven't liked Marilyn Manson." It's like he's kind of trying to come distance himself from Marilyn Manson. They're really good buddies, and in the book, which I actually have lying around somewhere, apparently there was somewhat of an assault on a drunken woman that is mentioned in the Long Road Out of Hell. That Marilyn Manson was partially ghost-written autobiography by Neil Strauss, who's had his fair share of quite influential and controversial books, if you know what I mean. So, and exaggerated books, of course, too. So Trent Reznor now denies this incident took place, just as Nikki Sixx denies that the closet incident took place. But these men, these men are fucking they're all guilty and complicit in this culture. And this culture is, what I'm referring to is the, rock star groupie culture. That's just the way it goes. You can try to demasculinize yourself out of it, or you can admit and fess up to it, or something else said, inside joke, up to it, or something home. Never mind. I'm not gonna post that on YouTube, but it's ridiculous because these people are fucking hypocrites. They supported this shit for years. It's just like with Epstein. It's like, or not Epstein. Yeah, Epstein and Harvey Weinstein. It's like, what the fuck do you think is going on behind the scenes? It's like oblivious to you. Like, if the allegations about Weinstein and Epstein are true, which I believe they are, people are complicit in that. Period. You saw it you want to deny what was going on. Kevin Smith, like, I didn't know what was going on. Tarantino, I don't know what's going on, or these actors and stuff. And then there's some other actors that said they punched him out or tried to punch him and stuff. I mean, that's kind of interesting. But, there's all this denial going on, taking place. So with Marilyn Manson, it's just the hypocrisy of some of these people is galling and appalling. And, I'm a fan of Trent Reznor, but it's either come forward and say, yeah, I've done some bad things in my life, and maybe some of them were with Brian Warner, or just shut up. It's stupid. And then it's funny, one of his ex-girlfriends, or I think she an ex-wife or ex-girlfriend, said nothing ever happened to her. Doesn't mean that nothing ever happened to anybody else. Just means she came forward and said that, just because she decided to do that. I just think it becomes a circus. It's not treated as a criminal case, or as it should be, in a certain way. It should be treated as a criminal case. This one, and the way that it's done, it's almost like the sensationalist drama soap opera that comes forward when these things happen. And maybe Brian Warner is a fucking predator. Maybe he is. But they're not going to make it better by making themselves seem like they're superior than him, his compatriots or former business partners, as in the case of Trent Reznor. They're not going to make themselves, seem better. Now, to be fair, Trent Reznor has had kind of a tumultuous relationship with Brian Warner. He did Starfuckers, which is a song off of The Fragile, which was about Marilyn Manson pretty much ostensibly. So it's not like he's totally was best buds up to this incident, but I just don't like how this is being treated. But as far as my own problematic takes on Woody Allen or Marilyn Manson, all I gotta say is that I've seen the evidence, and I've seen the evidence of Marilyn Manson, and I'm leaning towards, that he did something wrong, probably, maybe, but that doesn't mean I don't want more, investigation and more more nuance, especially with a lot of the ways that the media frames this, acting like taking out like what Six Hacks and Hammer said in a video where they didn't mention that she was 18 or 19 or whatever. They just said she was a teenager, making it seem like she was not an adult. That bothers me. Things like that, little things like that bother me. Them trying to frame this as kind of like this typical age difference thing, which bothers me for various reasons. Because I've seen all sorts of dynamics at play with people. I've seen I've seen girlfriends that were much younger than a guy manipulate the guy, that they were with. So I've seen all sorts of situations, and it doesn't mean that they're right by, it's not right necessarily for an 18-year-old to date a 45-year-old. Okay, it's not right, but it's not like I wouldn't automatically assume that the guy has this power over her or power dynamic. I think that's really ridiculous and very black and white thinking. It's also disingenuous to think that age always has that kind of influence on people. What about like young people that abuse old people? They're manipulate old people. About what's her name? What was her? Anna Nicole Smith and a 90-year-old. It's like, well, I guess he didn't. I guess that's a little different because like he was probably losing his marbles, so it's more like a child adult thing in a way. But it's like as if like women don't date older men to manipulate them for their money. I'm not saying that I'm not. You see, difference between me and the red pillers or the black pilled or whatever is that I don't think that money is as much of a basis for relationships as they say. I mean, I'm not exactly the most fucking like rich person. I mean, I was paying $400 a month in rent up until 2 or 3 months ago. So I mean, I'm not exactly, I make pretty good money in my job for, in as far as like being sort of towards middle class, but it's not like I'm rich, and even I can get a girlfriend sometimes, it's like, even I have like, and have hardly any money, and I'm, Tinder, whatever, I've a couple hundred matches, it's like, it's not exactly like I'm fucking Brad Pitt with a Maserati, So I don't think the money thing or looks money status thing is as relevant as people say all the time, is what I'm trying to say. But at the same time, there's a lot of dynamics at play. Let's be nuanced about this. Let's give a person a benefit of the doubt as far as that goes. But jumping on things like all of a sudden, thinking Marilyn Manson is this horrible person, rapist, right away without even like looking into different things is stupid. But like I said, more and more evidence does point to that direction, or whatever, being abusive at least. Unfortunately, of course, there's also a lot of things like I guess the woman is good friends with Amber Heard, allegedly, who's definitely a compulsive liar in the least, and everybody says that. So, but that's about all.